G'day legends, I hope you're all fantastic. On today's video, I am lucky enough to have my hands on a Universal Audio Ruby. They're all-in-one AC30 in a box. You've got three different AC30 circuits in here, a top boost, a normal channel, and a vibrato channel. There's a foot switchable boost. You can foot switch the vibrato if you like, built-in cabinet simulations, and Universal Audio's room simulation built in. It is stereo in and out. There's a USB-C connection on there and Bluetooth, so it hooks up to an app. Before we talk about the features and hear sounds in isolation, let's hear it in a mix. When I think of AC30s, I think of Rory Gallagher. So here's my little tip of the hat to Rory. Now that you've heard it in a mix, let's take a very quick look at the app. I am going to do most of the tweaking on the pedal itself. I like that you can access everything, including the secondary functions on the pedal, and I like that they are labeled on there nicely, but the app is definitely part of the experience here. So I've registered the pedal. I'm going to press on Ruby because it's connected in there, and it is going to bring me up to one of two pages, a presets page and a settings page. Let's just take a very quick look at settings. In here, you can easily assign the foot switches. There are four main options in here. You can see I've got the left foot switch set as boost and the right foot switch set to control vibrato. That's mostly because I'm doing a demo and it's really easy in this particular case to toggle those on and off. If I was using this in a live rig, I would probably have live and preset or boost and preset in there. So you can see those options right there. You can also turn for cable mode on, if you wanted to use this with your existing amp and the effects loop and essentially use this as like an added channel to your amp. You can do that. You can also back up your presets and do firmware updates from here. On presets, you've got artist presets. For example, let's try this preset by Jim James. Actually, I won't try that one because it says no cab. Let's try this one up here by Tim Pierce, 62 flat wounds in the casino. I like where the room's set on that. It's nice and bright and jangly. Or I can come down here and grab one of these Lincoln Brewster presets. These sound pretty good, especially on the bridge with this Strat. One thing that I do find pretty odd is that you can't see the pedal settings for any of these. It's just a preset, and I think it would be pretty useful for a lot of users, say, to take this preset and see where things are dialed in and kind of figure out where to set the knobs as like an intro to the pedal. There's also factory presets. Again, you just kind of press something and you get a sound like swirly vibes. It sounds like this. Again, you can't really see the settings that they've used on there. That is something that I think should really be added in an update. That would add a lot of important visual feedback for people. That's just my opinion anyway. You can also save your own presets in here. Say you dial in something using the knobs and you really like it, save it in here, and you can also go through lists of presets and favorite them. So that's what the app does. I think there's some really cool tones. I'm actually just going to go back to these artist presets and maybe use this Tim Pierce preset as kind of like a starting point. We'll tweak it and we'll go to the front panel now. I'm going to use that preset as a starting point to audition some of the cabs. This little toggle switch down here lets you cycle through the different cabs. And one thing that I often mention when it comes to impulse responses or speaker cab emulation is you do have that risk of option paralysis when you have every single possible option of microphone and speaker cabinet. The whole point of this pedal is it puts a lot of those things on rails for you. So it's a limited selection. I think all the speaker cabs sound pretty darn good, but I'm just going to use this and cycle through some of them. This is the starting point. The next choice is with the speaker cap off, so I'm going to go ahead too. Let's hear this one. This is the first default cap. That penultimate cab is probably my favorite in there. I really like the way that sounds with this particular setup. One thing that this pedal doesn't do at the moment, which again, I think it really should, it would make a lot of sense in a live situation because you have two outputs. It would be cool to be able to send, say, the left output with cab sims on to the front of house mix and have the right output with no cabinet simulation on it. So you could send it, say, to a backline amp or something like that. I really hope that is something that UA are going to add in a future firmware update, kind of like the settings thing on the app. But let's roll with that. With this style of amp, the next thing I would dial in is the high cut. So we do have a high cut control over here. I'm just going to play with that and let you hear the range. Next thing we'll do, let's kick in some boost. I'm actually just going to crank it all the way up because why not? And the left foot switch is going to engage or disengage the boost. That's pretty nice. In the middle, this will let you, say, store your particular settings as a preset, or if I push it up to Alt, I can control the room simulation from here. So let's take all of that out. And then if I want to turn the boost off, I can do that. Over here, this is your amp selection to choose between the 3 core models. Let's go down. So we've got the vibrato section. And if I'm on Alt up here, I'm going to have speed and intensity controls mapped to these knobs. So let's kick that in. if I click this Alt button back down, I can actually tweak the primary functions, bass, treble. I've got a volume control on here, which for a non-master volume amp is going to control the amount of gain as well. And then I've got my overall output level. So I'm just going to tweak this a little bit with the Strat, then I'll jump onto some humbuckers. So with that particular combo, Les Paul, the speaker cab that I'm on, it's kind of giving me an almost Marshall-y style thing, which I know sounds weird because this is a Vox style amp, and a lot of people just say, well, it sounds like a British guitar tone, in which case Voxy, Marshall-y definitely makes sense on there. It's a really, really cool combo. Thanks for putting up with so much absolute noodling going on there. One last thing that I should mention as well, if you do have one of these, keep in mind you don't have a dedicated mid control on a Vox amp. So as you crank the bass and the treble, that's kind of going to boost up the overall mids. If I pull them both down, you're going to get much more of that kind of scooped thing happening. Let's hear the Ruby with some drive pedals. I've got it set up for a very light crunch, and I'm going to throw a few different drives in front of it. I've got the Crazy Tube Circuits superconductor set on the Rangemaster treble booster mode. I've got a TS-808, and I've got the Rev Sean Tubbs signature overdrive. Let's hear them. The treble booster mode on that superconductor is so good with that combination in there. It's kind of no surprise, you know, people have known for decades that that is a great combination, but if you're going to run a treble booster in front of something claiming to do a great AC30 emulation, it better do that, and it certainly does that. One last thing we can look at is this pedal is stereo, so let's run some stereo effects before it. If you've made it this far, Thanks so much for putting up with all my incessant noodling and my stanky guitar faces. Either that or I remembered to put in timestamps and you have arrived at the closing thoughts section. The bottom line with this is I think it sounds fantastic. The built-in amp modeling is great. The built-in cabs are great. The room simulation is voiced really nicely. I love that top boost channel on there. I like the built-in boost. It does what it says on the tin. It sounds like a really good AC30, and I can see this kind of being a modeler for people who don't want to do modeling. If you're in a situation where you're already using a Vox style amp, but you can't really crank it at your gigs, or you've got it off stage in an ISO box, you could just take your pedal board that you're running in front of it and plop it in front of this, and you have made your rig a whole lot easier to use. I know a lot of people like those kind of amps for like worship style gigs, and to me that really seems like the sort of gig it is specialized for. Or if you're doing fly dates where you want to have your perfect chimey Vox tone and you just want to carry something in your guitar bag, this is going to work great. I did mention over the course of the video a few features I would personally like to see added. A big one that I can see a lot of people wanting is the ability to run a cabbed signal and an uncabbed signal. So you take your cab signal to front of house, you run the signal without the cab sim to a backline amplifier. That would be a really great application with this pedal and would make it more versatile. The USB-C connection, which this pedal, the other UA amp modeling pedals and their effect pedals have, would be really cool to see all of that integrated with some kind of USB to MIDI hub. That way you could run something like this with their reverb or their delay or multiple amp pedals and your MIDI style setup in there. There's no dedicated MIDI jacks on there. There's also no XLR on here, but that's a little bit harder to add via a firmware update. That is something that I personally would have liked to have seen on there. But again, because it's a stereo pedal, you would need two of them on there, very similar to something like the Strymon Iridium. The other thing which I think would be super awesome for a pedal like this that I mentioned right at the start of the video is with the app, having it more like something like the Eventide H9 app, where if you just want to control all the functions on the pedal from the app and get visual feedback about where the knobs are set, I would personally love that, because if you're using this on a dark stage, bending over and looking at the knobs, having a big bright iPad on your mic stand is going to be a lot easier to do that. But I do appreciate again that this is kind of modeling for people who don't want to do modeling. UA are clearly aiming this at that part of the market. If you want the full-on versatility that a digital solution can offer you, I think you would probably go out and grab something like an FM3 or an HX Stomp if you want to have AC30s and Fenders and Boogies and Marshalls and all that kind of stuff. But for just something that can replace an amp that you're probably familiar with, I think they've hit the nail on the head. Bottom line, it sounds really good. I'm going to know your thoughts in the comments section below. Let me know what you thought of the tones in here, and have you grabbed either this or one of the other UA pedals? I would love to hear your thoughts about them. If you want to support what I do here on the channel, there's links to my Patreon and the music that I make in the video description. You can also come and join the Discord and chat about all things guitars. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.